Hi, my name is Terry Healy and I'm an escalation engineer at Microsoft. Today I'm going to talk to you about Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 and the new features we have around Human Resources and Payroll. I will be following along with the technical training guide that I created around Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 new features. Today I have up Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. To demonstrate some of the new self-service features, I will be flipping between a couple installs that I want to make you familiar with. Right down here in the lower left-hand corner, I have created a new user called Julie that is my employee user. Julie is not a manager, but just an employee. So we can think of Julie as logging into her home page as an employee and what she might want to do throughout the day around Human Resources and Payroll. The install that I have in the back is with user SA, and that user is a manager and also has all rights to the system. So if we need to go back to any setup or looking at those windows, I will reference the SA user. I'm really excited about Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 because with the 2015 release, we now have all our self-service capability in the product. So if you are a customer that is looking to deploy self-service, similar to what you might have had in the past or a first time deploying this, GP 2015 is the place you want to look. With Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 R2, we did release workflow and time cards. This was the first area that we released. And now with 2015, we have all of the other capability. You can see when I'm logged in to Julie, I go into my home page, and here are all the self-service items I would like to do. I'm going to cover just a couple prerequisites that are in the document, so we are familiar, and if you are using R2 at time cards, this will be a little bit review. So if we go in logged in under SA or a power user, if you go under your navigation pane of Human Resources Payroll, and if we just choose the employee, I will pull Julie up so you can see how I have her set up. This warning message is telling us that we have a workflow and process for Julie. So that will be nice to know as we have the payroll admin or HR admin users in the back office doing work. If there is a workflow in process, it does warn that, but it does not stop them from making changes on the employee record. So if I pull up the employee maintenance for my employee Julie, under additional information is where we tie the GP user. So all of our employees that we want to use to self-service have to be set up as a GP user ID. If I drill back on that GP user ID, you can see I have my employee of Julie, and they are a limited user. So there is for GP 2015, you would choose the limited user. There will be a new role coming for the self-service user, but right now we would choose the limited user. I will also go back, actually I'm in under SA, so I'm going to show you the user setup as well. Tools, Setup, System, and User, actually User Security. And if I pull in that Julie, you will see that you will only be giving them the employee self-service roles. So Julie does have a manager role and employee role. The BSS is for your benefit self-service. So here's the roles you would likely give your employees if they're just going to be using the self-service. That way it will be when I log in as Julie, I have that limited role. So you can see I can go under cards, self-service, and I only really see the items that I'm specific to see. I can get through them under cards, self-service, or I can also access them right from my home page. I need to enter time for a pay period. I need to change my profile. So we have them accessed in both areas. If by default this time management tile is not here, you click on Customize this page and you can mark time management. Also under the roles, we have that it's a self-service role. So if I click on HR and payroll and I'm in under Julie, as an employee, I can see my team. So you will have a manager role as well. Julie is not a manager, but if I made SA user a manager, so I'll go over here and click on my team, then you will see that Julie is under the SA role. So here's your supervisor. SA is assigned to Angela as an employee in Microsoft Dynamics GB sample data. So this is my employee role, and here's all the employees underneath me. So it has the similar view that you've seen in the past, so I have a manager view of all my employee information. If I go back to my Julie, she's just an employee and she does not see that other information as I would as a manager role. In the self-service document, we also have prerequisites for workflow. I will not cover workflow in the training. There is specific information tailored around workflow, but I just want you to know that under Tools, Setup, Company, Workflow, Tools, Setup, Company, Workflow, and Workflow Maintenance. This is where you would go to set up your workflow. I have set mine up for the demonstration today. We have the employee profile workflow, skills, direct deposit, time cards was added on Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 R2, and then W4 approval. So we have 4 new workflows that were added for Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. In my technical training document, I have linked you to several blogs that support has written as we learn about the new workflow. If you have set up workflow in 2013 R2, these are just new workflow types that you will need to set up. If you have not set up workflow and you go to use some of the employee self-service items and they're grayed out, that tells you that workflow has not been set up. So let's first look at the employee profile. So I will go back in under my Julie employee and I will go to the home page. And so there's, for all these different self-services, you can access them through this time management, which I would say would be most useful for the employees. So when they log in as Julie, they're just going to see their information, or they can go under the cards and self-service as well. The benefits view enhanced listed right here is for the benefits self-service, which is a separate add-on part of advanced HR. Today I'm going to cover you the core benefit functionality, and that is a view only type functionality. So let's first start by looking at our employee Julie and what she might want to do in her role today. So we will start by looking at the view and update my profile. So you can see it's showing Julie just her information. We can see her address if she wants to change her address, her home phone, her personal information, the emergency contacts, dependents, and position history. The position history will flow based on position information that you have changed throughout Julie's record. The dependents will be her current dependent information. And dependents will be key with the Affordable Care Act changes that have come out, that you can use the self-service to have your employees enter all their dependent information. And so we will be tracked on the ACA forms. Any of the data in this window is mainly pulling from back office information, so you don't need to rekey any of that data. Again, if this window is grayed out, that means we don't have workflow set up, and we would need to set up workflow in order for this to be open and show editing as mine does in this window. Then we would hit our submit button. It would go to our approval based on our workflow, which is Active Directory based. Once that information has gone through the workflow process, it will then update the back office and the record, so the regular payroll admin, HR admin users would see that information. Next, let's look at our pay stubs. So I want to click on View My Pay Stubs, as I want to see my pay stub information and maybe print a few of those pay stubs. So I can, if I had multiple, I can select multiple pay stubs. I can click on the View button. You will notice that if you are familiar with Human Resources and Payroll, this is the Recreate Pay Stub functionality. So it's using really a back office form, the Recreate Pay Stubs that you see today, and displaying that information to the employee. That is really nice about with the new self-service functionality, that we're going to be able to easily show more and more items to our employees because we're using back office forms or reports to do that. So again, it's very easy for us to start showing this information based on windows and forms we already have in the back office. A couple items I want to note around the pay stub feature is we had a lot of requests from customers around adding pay period begin and end dates in the prior product, and we did not have that, and in some states it's required. So you will see up here on the top right that we are adding the pay period start and end dates. My dates are not are superficial in this case, but it will show your correct pay period end dates. And where we are pulling that is when you run payroll in the build window. Under transactions, payroll build checks, there's a pay period from and to, and that will display and be stored. We're now storing this data where we never did before. It would go through your check work tables and then be lost. And we heard from a lot of customers that we would like to report on this data. We want it on, it does print on the pay stubs, but then it would leave the work tables. So what we started to do, I'm gonna pull up SQL Query Analyzer right here. And in this 3100 table, which is our check history table, so every time you post a payroll, we write one line per employee for that check to this table. So if I do a select on here, you're going to see our check dates. Oh, I got the 100. I'll just do a select on the 3100. And I brought the pay period begin and end dates to the front of the table. It's really at the end. But there's my audit trail code, my check number, my check date, and my employee ID. So we now are going to store your pay period begin and end dates, which will be really nice for reporting if you want to pull that information. So it's in the check history, the UPR 3100 table. So when you upgrade from a prior version, this would not be populated. So if you start to see things that are blank, it's because it's probably data from a prior year or prior version. But once you start running payroll on GP 2015, when you post payroll, these dates will be populated and then they will appear on the report. So that's a nice back office feature as well that we have had a lot of requests from customers where they want to store those pay period dates, and we're now doing that in the check history table. And then we're pulling it right to this report, so they can print this report, and then that'll be their recreate pay stub. Another thing you will notice that I want to point out on here, there is no Social Security number. In prior self-service modules, we would be printing the Social Security number, and many customers did not want that on. So we did not by default put the Social Security number on this form because that was a request from many of our customers. You will also notice that in the future releases of Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, we're going to do more work around Social Security number and making changes to that to have it more encrypted and not on reports by default, because that's a large request from our customers. So again, to recap, we can look at our pay stubs. As an employee, it is the reprint page stub check form that we're using. And again, we can hit that from a couple different views off of the cards, self-service, or under the time management area as well. The next piece I want to show you is your employee benefits. So the core product allows you to view your benefit information. It does not allow you to change it. So it's pulling this data from Human Resources and Payroll as a view only. It does not allow you to change it. Now, if you've been, again, using Human Resources and Payroll, this window probably looks very similar or familiar to you, and it's the Employee Benefit Deduction Summary window in Human Resources. So again, we're using and displaying to our employees an existing form, an existing back office form, but maybe we made some modifications to it. So again, I'm logged in as employee Julie, and here are the codes assigned to me. So this is in the new table. We're using our existing table to view this information. There is a benefit self-service product that's in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 as well, and that allows you to do open enrollment online with your employees. But out of the box, this self-service is just a view only for your employees. This view will bring in their benefit information, listing all of their benefits and deductions. And this window is dynamic in that it would pull from Human Resources or Payroll, depending on what you're using. Now, with some of the Affordable Care Act changes that we did, we are requiring HR. So we're seeing more customers use HR windows and populate that information. But this view will pull from both areas, and it's looking at your UPR 00600, which is your benefit table and payroll, your UPR 00500, which is your deduction table and payroll, and also the BE 010130, which is your benefit table in Human Resources. So we're pulling from multiple areas. Again, as we developed these forms, we took into account things we're hearing from customers, and that's what I want to point out here, that this form in the core back office, we didn't, some of this all benefits and active, so we added a flip switch there as well to try to limit some of that data. You can also see that it has percent. Sometimes that percent was not printing on the core back office. So now when I log in as an employee, you can see it is showing that I have 5% contributing to my retirement plan, which is really nice. There it's showing a fixed amount. You will see the word multiple there, and what that means is under the HR or payroll side, you can set up a tiered deduction, meaning depending on what I make in a pay period, the deduction amounts may change based on a table you have set up. So not as many use that, but if you do see multiple here, it's going to say that you have a tiered deduction set up, and that rate is going to vary based on how much you're making in that pay run. So that's what multiple means here, but I'm giving you a good demonstration of percentages, fixed amounts, and the multiple information as well. We have our codes in here, our descriptions, statuses, and frequency. So it kind of gives you a variety of what we're showing in this window. Again, remember, if you don't like some of your coding information and now you're starting to deploy this to your employees, under the payroll utilities, there is an option to rename these. So if you want to change INS to something else, you can do that under payroll utilities. You can change your benefits, your deductions, and your pay codes. And it updates both HR and payroll, which is nice. So up here is my employer contributions. That's going to be your benefit. And down here is my employee contributions. So those are my deductions. Next, let's focus on direct deposit. So I want to click on View and update my direct deposit. And again, this is a window that we made some changes to in the back office as well. From what we hear from a lot of our customers, that this was not a very functional window about adding new accounts. So if I was in this window and I needed to add $5, let's say another account of $5, we want that right up before the 100%. And you'd almost have to do a screenshot of this window, delete the lines, and then rekey it in. And that is just a hassle. So what we did in GP 2015, since we're doing some changes to this window anyway, we added the move up and move down arrows. So that is really exciting. It's a very small change, but it does allow you to move up and down lines. So I'm just going to go in now as SA and go to cards, payroll, and direct deposit. And let me pull up, let me see if Ackerman has any data. So you can see here that I'll actually clear and pull up that Jules. So you can see that I can move up and move down in this core window as well. So you don't, as we add accounts, we don't have to delete or make changes as such. We can now move up and move down. So that's in the core back office window. So I just wanted to point that out. Let's go back in under Julie for the self-service and look at that information. So similar to other self-service that we had in the past, it will come in as a pre-note status. Julie has the capability as an employee to move up and down as well. I do feel the window functions better. We added add account, we can remove account. We also added stop a deposit. So if Julie just wants to completely stop her deposit, she can stop all of it and send that through to workflow as well to stop all direct deposit information. If you are getting prompted for a required field in this window, and I have this noted in my documentation, it's probably referring to the remainder of line number. So if you're a brand new employee and that is not set or set to a 0, it does prompt you to be required field, but it's not very obvious to the employee. So I just want to take note of that the required information is the remainder of net. And remainder of line number means what's my remainder account that I want all my information to go to. And typically, if you've worked in HR and payroll, we recommend to set up our amounts first at 100% at the last line. So my remainder of net in this case would be 2. The remainder of the money should go into account 2 at 100%. We did add some, we're pulling from existing direct deposit tables here, but we also added some work tables to store some of that information, and that's noted in the documentation. The next I'd like to look at is the W-4. So we all know, I'm excited about the W-4 as well because we've added additional functionality to the W-4 to make it easier for you. So even though we're doing all this self-service and some of it's new, but also we're adding functionality that we heard from customers about what they didn't like in the prior self-service products. So that's what's exciting. We have an history tab, and it does open up blank for me as I don't have any history, but it will provide all that history of your W-4s as you track. What's nice about this is you can see I have the W-4 right in my window. So that means no more loading a W-4 form every year. Unless they do change it, which in the past years they've just changed the year anyway. And that's all we do. We change the year on the form and we put out a new W-4 and everybody has to go load it. Now, what the year is doing is coming off your GP user date. So you can see I'm in 1/1 of 2015. So then the year in this right up here in the right hand corner and then the year right here in the middle is all coming from that user date. So if I had my user date in 2014, it would show 2014. If it's in 2016, it would be 2016. So again, it's pulling from that user date when you log in, which is really nice. And hopefully it'll save some time for everybody on the loading of the form. A few other things I want to point out that I like that we did. We have the federal withholding up here visible to you. So today on my record in the back office, I'm doing 3 allowances and I'm doing an additional $100. So we're showing you what your record is today. In the prior self-service, this all came up blank and it was kind of confusing to the employees. So now we're showing you that information, which is nice. I also want to point out we're masking the Social Security number, so we're really being cognizant of that and, you know, doing what our customers are asking of us. We also have the 3 and the 100 defaulting in here for you. And when I submit my change, or when I type in a change, then this is going to open up and I type in my employee signature just like I have in the past. So this is your W-4 information. I wanted to point out again the years up here, the federal withholding. We have a history tab and my W-4. I also want to show you, see here how we have single, married, and married but withholding at a higher single rate. So what we did to address that and to add some functionality to the product is if we go in, I'm going to now jump over to my SA login and go to cards, payroll, tax. So this is the form that really the W-4 feeds to. When I make changes to my W-4, submit them, and they're approved, they're updating this window, cards, payroll, tax. And you can see right down here, I have this new married withholding as single. And so that is just telling, kind of matching up with your W-4, but really when you think about it, married, it's on the W-4, but it's really at the single rate. The federal does not have tax tables with married withholding as single. You're just holding at a single rate. But we did add that capability, so now it kind of matches up with the W-4 a little bit better, matches into our form. So don't be alarmed, this is a new field in there as well, and it's because of the self-service, and it only works on the single. So I wanted to point that out with some additional functionality, and that's all based off the user date. Now we did have to add a table with this to store all this history, so it's in the UPR 3604 as your new W-4 employee history information. I'll go back over here to my self-service role, and let's talk about skills and training. So if I go in under view and update my skills and training, I do have some data in here from Julie already, but you can see education is all the education information pulling from your core back office table. So don't think you have to rekey anything. If you have this data in HR, it will display already dynamically for you. Anytime we have these submit buttons up here, that means we have the workflow in place, which we did add workflow for skills and training, and so you can submit your changes and update the records. I have my test information. It shows the expiry dates, which a lot of customers like. I also have my skills. So you can use skills for any type of test or anything, certification, licensing. They do have expiry dates as well. So if you don't have the advanced module, you can use the skills for some of that tracking as well. It's simplistic, but it is there. What's nice with skills in the back office is you can query the skills. So you can say who has ACA knowledge, and it'll pop up all your employees or your applicants in the back office. So if we have people filling in that information, it helps you with what knowledge base of employees you have for the jobs you may be deploying them to. If I click on training history, this is all my training information that's displayed as well. So education, test, skills, and training. If you don't see this option, if you don't see skills and training here, or it's not an option under cards, that means that you do not have HR installed on your install base, which now with GP 2013 and 2015, core HR and payroll are all free. We assume everybody's installing them, but if you don't have the skills and training option, it doesn't mean you didn't purchase it, but it means you don't have HR installed, because that one is fully pulling from the HR table. So if it doesn't see it there, and it's not installed, then it's going to be missing. So we need to make sure that our installs have HR and payroll. We did add some HR tables related to this to track our employee training, education, and test. And they are noted in my technical document information. So again, I also want to mention one other feature that's not related to some of the self-service or U.S. payroll or HR, but part of Canadian payroll. And in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, we did have Canadian payroll web client, because that is what we're using to display all this information, is web client to our employees. So when an employee logs in, they're not logging into a GP install, they're hitting using web client, and that is their link that they, once you install, that they would hit, just like they did in prior self-service modules. So in order, we had self-service for Canadian payroll in the past, so we need to prepare for that as well. So we opened up Canadian payroll web client. And with some of the self-service that you saw today, now that we got all the core pieces in place that we have in other areas, we are going to continue to focus on what customers want. So continue to watch for that in GP 2015 R2 and the future, about things, think of things that customers want to see on the self-service side. And probably the biggest request is a W-2. That's the next step we need to take. So we are, I want you to know, we are looking at that and trying to analyze what that would take. But right now, the W-2 is not in the RTM version of 2015, but it is something we are considering for a future product release. I want to thank you for taking the time today to go over the changes in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. I'm really excited about them, and what that we have done with Human Resources and Payroll. It's really exciting, and it's all thanks to you, the customers and partners that continue to drive us to change and what you want us to see in the products. So I'm really excited about it and what we have going forward. So thank you.